Cheryl, you look good out there, bud.
I thought I would.
I think Joe got a CC copy of this, but you need one for those file out there. Okay.
Don't need to be bad.
She's afraid somebody's gonna say something. I know what she's up to.
He can put a copy on file. Yeah.
It looks nice. I moved to approve the minutes.
All right, good. I second that. Get a chance to look at the minutes.
Yeah.
Rory, I guess we'll start with you.
Okay.
I guess Joe would be interested in this.
Joe Matasevic, you know?
He pretty super
Yeah.
guy. Everybody too. Yeah.
They're looking for some extra volunteers to dress in the Superman costume for the annual picture. Didn't know if y'all would be interested in that.
I thought I heard Gerald had that taken.
I thought he did too.
He's, you know,
They're wanting a lot of the volunteers.
Well, I like the part down there where about, they're trying to set a record. And you will get for participating, you'll get a ceremonial certificate. But if you wish to buy an aerial photo, it's $15 pre-order, but $20 if. And I'm going, what's the purpose of this?
Yeah.
I didn't read all that. Is there super women in there too, or?
No.
Just Superman? It's super girls, isn't it? Super ladies, I don't know. What do you call Superman and Supergirl?
here's that resolution I had time to support the sword. If you don't wanna read it, you'll vote on it, approve it. Thank you, Lauren.
Okay, thank you.
Dana.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dana.
So it looks like we'll receive some sales tax money in, personal property tax, state of Illinois, state's attorney, salary.
Reimbursement.
What's that say to Davis's salary?
Reimbursement, circuit clerk fees, state's attorney's fees, and miscellaneous.
$6.30.
$6.34.
Good deal, so
So So after this payroll today, it'll leave us a balance of 178,930.90, and that's pretty well it for the month. Cheryl thought we should get the local use tax, and it's a possibility. On April 30th, we received, I think it was the 71,000. So she thought possibly on 5/30 we could receive March's payment of 40,000.
And also, you might get 6 to 10,000 from local use tax.
That's a big swing, $6 to $10,000.
Well,
I know what it means.
So, do you have, what, one more payroll this month?
This month.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Okay. 28. So we have 178,000 after this payroll.
Mhm.
Does that include Mary's reimbursements?
Yes.
Mary Glasgow.
Oh, yeah, down here in this it is.
Okay. All right. Anything else? How's your audit? Everything go pretty well?
So far, so good.
Do you want to follow up with Linda Curley?
I had actually spoke with her this morning, and she said that she had spoke to Keith, and Keith, she's, supposedly had it fixed, and if she had any problems, Keith was supposed to get back with her, and he hadn't got back with her, so. I tried to call Keith this morning, and got his
Well,
voicemail,
it is-
so.
We had a 911 meeting yesterday. He mentioned this has been kind of, I guess, ongoing. What he wants to do, if I understand it, is have access, not to do anything with the account, but have access on the computer to look at the account. And he
I
said
thought that's been taken care of.
Well, we did too, but now he said, where your personal information came up,
Is
we
the-
fixed that, well, now Lori's GA accounts are coming up.
Well, the way it started was he wanted to, he mentioned at the meeting that he was wanting to take the money out of City National Bank and put it in another facility, and I said, why? That's when he went into details and said originally, John's information somehow was involved in that, and then they got that resolved, and then, I think you and him and maybe someone else went down there,
Yeah,
and you said
all of us
everything was
did.
fine. And then the next time he tried to access it from his computer to look at the account, it pulled up general assistance account instead of 911's account.
Well, I think it brought up his and Lori's,
Okay.
from what I understood. And like I said, they can't fix something if they don't know
Right.
that it's broke. She said that she was expecting a call back from Keith if.
Okay. And so I told him, I said, we should be able to get this worked out.
Yeah, and like I said, she said as far as she knew it was okay because she had not heard back from Keith. I said, okay,
Well,
so.
and then I didn't know if it was just he wanted to get it out of there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know. So. All right, well, I'll just keep following up with him then.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
I left him a message, a call, so.
Okay. You got anything for Dan? No. Just keep up the good work. Yeah, we'll have something break
How's the
tomorrow.
drag race coming on?
Well, that's funny, cause I was over at the track the other night, but I
Well,
had to race.
We got a new county engineer coming, so we might get a little more cooperation out of him.
We might could get a drag strip somewhere.
She got a Mustang she bought, and then the lady across the hall bought a new Camaro, so. it was
We're trying to close some roads so we can have a drag race, and sell admission.
Are they practicing on airport roads? There's 2 lines across airport road. My wife
Well-
says, what are those lines for? And I says,
They
I don't
pro-
know, but it looks almost like a drag strip.
It's not been approved, but I wouldn't doubt that they're doing that.
We're heading out way out that way.
It used to be on Old Marion Road up by the interstate.
Yeah.
When I came here, there was 2 orange white lines very neatly painted
Yeah.
across the road up there.
Yeah,
Right there from Mud Creek to the intersection. It's a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
Not that Gerald ever raced on it.
No.
Not that you're
Everybody
anything
did.
about it.
That year.
There's that, and then out on Pell Road too.
Someone out there.
From that bridge you replaced, heading north, there's a quarter of a mile.
Come on up here, guys, let's see what's going on.
Joe? You can't
Come on
sit,
up here.
I was hoping
you
to
can't
stay
sit
back
over there unnoticed.
How was y'all's conference? Was it this week or last week?
It was last week, he made it.
It was
Good.
last week, I went.
Did you? Did everything go well?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, the first day was just all the seminar type things to get, PDHs and learn, techniques and stuff. Second day was that meeting and listened to all the committee reports and everything like that, and it made my head swim a little bit. It was all right.
That's good. All right. So what's going on with you, Larry? Signing these? When, we had that radio show this morning, I forgot. When's your last day?
End of June.
End of June. Couldn't remember.
I'll be taking off quite a bit between now and then. I got vacation to take up.
All right, well, I hope Joel's able to soak in a lot.
I think I had his head spinning again yesterday. Yeah. He takes good notes, and he's a lot smarter than me, so he'll pick up on it.
Really, David knows what to do out in the county, doesn't he?
For the most part, yeah. We were just talking about that. Yeah, he said, well, on the way in, he said, well, what do the guys do? And he started a list. I says, yeah, they do all that. And a lot of that David knows and pretty well takes care of, and he just, and I, tell him, he just discusses things with me, and how do you wanna go about this, and what's your input, and we just kinda get our heads together and brainstorm it, and it depends on what it is. Sometimes we brainstorm it with the crew, and some of the schools and seminars I've been to, you learn that the more heads you can get involved in any problem-solving situation, the better it works out. And the guy that you think would have the least amount of input sometimes comes up with the best idea.
A guy told me one time, if you talk to somebody, no matter who it is, you'll learn something. Talk to them long enough.
Sometimes we get blinders on, and you get somebody that really doesn't know anything about the situation, and since they don't, they'll come up, well, I thought about doing it, that would be a better way to do
You
it.
just get that one thing in your head and you just can't think of anything else. And somebody comes along and can.
We had that same very situation when we bought that stainless steel tank a while back. I had one thing in mind, and I guess I had said that and kinda had everybody else thinking the same way. And the guy come up with, look, he thought about putting it this way. No, we hadn't, but that would be more out of the way, and that would be better in the long run, and that's the way we ended up. And it kinda surprised everybody, because they weren't expecting that comment. But that's the way we ended up putting it, and I think it's more out of the way and working better for us than what it would have before, the other way.
Did you have to take the backhoe, Larry, to McKeel or to get it fixed? Or is it?
It's still sitting, and we're waiting for.
Oh, is it?
We're waiting
That's
for,
fine.
in fact, I got on my list to call the insurance company today and see.
It's gonna have a whole
What we're
cab,
gonna
or
do.
you think? Is the cab off to one
There's,
side?
there's some feeling that it will be totaled.
I know a door costs
We're
about
not sure.
$1,200, so.
Huh?
I know a door costs about $1,200 with no glass.
Cab is in the neighborhood of 18,000, 18 to 20,000 just for the cab, and the cab, absolutely has to be replaced because the rollover protection has been compromised.
That's not the same copy we just signed, is it? Okay.
They just look a lot the same.
Okay, I read the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them are paying for material and both of them are paying for labor. Yes. There is issue, and I'm unsure whether it's the boom that's bent or the actual frame on the machine that's bent. Something's twisted.
Oh, really?
I haven't heard, but when I talked to the insurance company last week and told them, adjuster in Chicago, some lady, and she says, well, now, you know the first 1,000 is deductible. I said, yeah, that's not a problem. I said, it'll have to have a cab, I know, and that's 18,000. Oh, well, get an estimate, okay. So that's when I called, and I hung up from her and called Greg and says, can you come over sometime? Yeah. About 5 minutes later, she called back, said, if we've got that kind of damage, I think we need to send an adjuster down. I said, I think that would be a good idea. Because it just save time.
They need to be on the same page.
And I said, do you want me to go ahead and, yeah, that'll be, more information will be better. And I had to leave that afternoon, go make arrangements. The adjuster was down that afternoon. He came from, David said he told him he was from Cobden area or something, so he was
Too far.
an insurance adjuster from,
Yeah.
that they just hire, you know. And
How many hours did that have? Do you remember?
about $1,700.
What model is it? Your model? You remember?
09, our
That
newest machine,
What,
yes.
M?
That was the M. Yeah. And, I don't know. David kinda quizzed the adjuster, he said, this is pretty serious. I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is pretty serious.
Do you know what engine that had in it? Like, that comes
I think it is. I think it's that little 3 or 4 cylinder.
four,
4 cylinder, isn't it?
you know, the Tracos, I think, went to Isuzu, I believe. Quint's got, I think, Isuzu in his.
Some of them may have, because when we tried out machines, when we got our excavator, I knew then that the case and the link belt
Same machine.
were the same machine except for the engine. Case had a Cummins engine in it, the link belt had an Isuzu engine in it. That was the only difference, was the engines in the two machines, other than the way they were painted.
Yeah.
So it could be that Case has now put the Isuzu in theirs and gotten away from the Cummins.
Might be. Both of them good engine, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
What's that Ashley going on?
Remember, I was talking to Jeremy Billington about this about a month ago?
Oh, yeah.
What I'm thinking is she's gonna come down and offer some service to help us properly handle Obamacare with the payments and stuff. I mean, it's one of those deals where she wanted to meet with you.
She wanted to take no for an answer, huh?
Well, basically what it is, and I didn't get an opportunity to tell her that we're self-insured, which is gonna put a,
Ink in her plan.
I think so, but you might get a meal out of it if you work yourself.
Hey,
That's mine.
that's the main thing. Get us some lunch.
Larry, on a different note, but just last week, it's just sort of piqued my interest about right-of-way widths out in the county. I went back to 94, just when Mount Sterling bought that acre of ground. And it didn't, and I went forward to see if they ever would, when the road districts were there, would they have donated right-of-way, or is that laid out when the county was laid out? I noticed Unionville had a 40-foot. I found one survey where it showed that they had 40 feet. But I never could find anything on Mount Sterling Road.
And that's why I sent them up here, because
Yeah.
I don't have too much.
And I noticed that road has to run, it obviously runs on a section line, because it's, but I don't know where to look for it.
The only thing I could think is, And the reason why I sent them down here is in that big.
We pulled that down, there's nothing.
Okay, see, the Unity School Road and turning at Mount Sterling, what we call Mount Sterling Corner, and going down to Unionville, used to be County Highway 3.
Okay. County Highway 3. All right, that's something to look for.
I'd have to go back and look, I think in the early 80s, Charlie got with the county board, and they deleted that as a county highway and made it a road district road, which is what it is now.
Okay.
I don't know, I do know that all those little, and there's one left still, and we talk about it every once in a while, those little through girder bridges that's got the concrete. Those were done in the teens, 1916, 1917, as state aid section G. I've got the nameplate off of one of those bridges on
And
this,
I-
and I was able to look at it, or I couldn't have told you that, but I looked last week when Gary called me. You know, he was with the church. And I don't know if that state aid section G went down for that whole County Highway 3 or not. That's why I don't have any plans on that.
Yeah, and I looked in the surveys in my index and I couldn't find anything on that, but if there's been a conversion, there's gonna be some kind of notification of it. I mean,
So,
but I worked it forward and I could not see where the church ever, conveyed any right of way, but, I mean, they bought an acre from an Angley, this back in 1894. And then I found the deeds where they bought some more for the cemeteries.
okay.
But it does never,
It doesn't ever
makes
reference
mention.
the road right away.
That's right.
Okay. And see, with everything I had going on last week,
Well, yeah,
I didn't
I
have a
understand
chance
that. Well, I
to
understand
look.
that.
I told Gary, I will try to do some looking, but been down this, I have found and been told on, I dealt with people on Unity School Road. I don't have much information. We don't have plans like I have on a lot of the others because everything that was done on it. But in talking to people along there, they have informed me, oh, that's a 25-foot right-of-way on Unity School Road. 25 feet each side of the center line. And if you go out there, every place I've measured on the fences, 25 feet over. But I don't have any records of it.
Well, I couldn't, well, for one thing, I didn't really know what I was looking for. I thought that maybe I could get back to the original deed and then come where they conveyed, might have been some work where the county bought some more right of way, but I couldn't find anything.
And seems like I have seen in looking for right-of-way for some bridge projects on Unity School, I have found some deeds that call for the 25-foot right-of-way on Unity School. But like I said, that was County Highway 3 until I'm thinking about 82 or 84, somewhere in there, that it was deleted from County Highway and went, of course, that put it to a road district road, and it's been road district since then.
See, where would they have kept all the road district records? I can't find any in the courthouse. Did that stay with the road commissioner?
It was supposed to have been turned over to the county superintendent of highways when they went from road district to unit road district. But I haven't found those records. I
And
haven't seen them.
I've looked downstairs in that vault. Not an extensive search, but it just, when you get nosing around some.
I have been through the vault down there
Mhm.
in the, but I haven't seen any road district records. I have seen, I went through county board minutes records years ago. Danny Jones and I did a couple of different searches. We took time one time to go back to 1913. And we need to add a name to the list now. Of the county superintendent highway and then county engineers. That started in 1913, by the way, in the law. And I've got that list, and we did that through the county minutes, board minute records. And the other thing is we looked for some bridge constructions. And I found some of those throughout the county, and some of those were on the road district system, but they were still contracts let by the county board. but I have never seen any files that refer to road district records down there.
I don't either.
And I haven't seen them. I've found some things over the years people referred to the road district. Somebody brought me one time a bond, scared that day.
Okay, I remember that one.
Road District 6, bond, back, and I go, oh my, this sucker, and we didn't have any money then. How are we ever gonna pay this interest? And luckily, I talked to one of the bankers at Brookport. And he says, oh, and he knew something about bonds and I didn't. He says, no, bonds, when they mature, they're paid off. You know, because I could just, this was like 6 or 7% interest on this
Oh,
bond.
yeah, I can remember that.
And I said, man,
Somebody found it in an attic, didn't they?
yes, out at Midway. Found this old Road District 6 bond, I think that's what it was, in an attic, and I go, oh my, if we have to pay the interest on that. Luckily, the bank says, don't worry about it.
How's everything going though? You all started mowing yet?
Yes.
Started-
Last Thursday, we
What part
started
of the
on.
county did y'all start on?
They did Country Club Road and headed north on North Avenue, and they're working their way around, and we'll get back. We're doing the, as typical, we're doing county highways first, one pass, because that's our busier roads, you know, and this is a safety issue thing, so. Thursday, Friday, they was in Big Bear area, and they went over the bluff yesterday, probably down Pig Hill Road somewhere, and they'll do the west side. We will start, contractors planning to start resurfacing project between EEI and Hillerman after Memorial Day, let school get out. And I kind of instigated that, so. But that'll just save us some, because one of those is gonna involve that intersection right there at Maple, between Maple Grove and Joppa. And, because that's where it's gonna tie it, so.
That's what we're waiting.
So we'll wait and kind of eliminate that issue with school buses and traffic, and just help traffic a little bit.
Those y'all been burning, why is it just from, what, cleaning up stuff? If I drive by the shed?
We're cutting some right away, some overhead limbs
Okay.
that are hanging down, and of course, you get involved in that, and people, well, here's this tree, and it's on the right of way line, and I'd like it gone, and,
Yeah.
Ann English down there. We weren't gonna go through there. saw some overhangs on what they call Maple Road, which is that short stretch from.
Yeah. Paul Hobbs lives on.
Yeah, well, that's Garden Road.
Garden, that's right.
Yeah, but Maple Road is between Jonesboro Road and our County Highway 5, and there was a couple of dead limbs hanging there, and I just told David, I says, we need to get these out of here, you know, because before they fall on the road. And there was a few other holes that we got there, and then the people, and Paul Hodge wants us to clean his right of way up.
Oh,
And the last time we did it, he was griping to you guys, griping to me, griping to David, and David says, wait a minute, the last time we come in here and tried to clear some limbs, you threw up these, I know, but I want it cleaned, I thought about it, I want it cleaned up. David told you, he was a little bit disgusted, but and we're working on it, so. But Ann English down there, which is, Ray Dooley's sister.
Oh, okay.
And Bill's daughter.
Yeah.
She had some pine trees. One of them suckers, our 28-inch bar barely got through it, and they said the next one wouldn't.
Where you turn left and go down into Mill Springs, is that Phillips Road? If I'm coming from, I believe I'll be headed due east, and you can turn south on Phillips Road. Isn't that what if I turn left and go down there, there's a patch of tarnship. Is that all county, or is that forest, or who's?
It's ours,
All the way?
down to the creek.
Okay.
We basically have responsibility to get the Forest Service across the creek, and then it's theirs.
Okay. I was just curious. I had a lady questioning me about putting them, you guys work down there quite a bit, or when it floods?
Every
or-
once in a while, it's a Ford, not enough traffic, and we try to keep a pipe open, and helps keep it from washing out, but it still kind of washes out, and we get some help. People purposely stop it.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was a trouble pipe there, but I wasn't certain that was the one.
Why do they do that?
Trying to get it to wash out. So that to restrict traffic back there.
Oh,
Now, you take that, and you tell me who's doing it. When the doctor lived there,
okay.
he kind of gave us what for a little bit. He kind of sided with Donna and his girlfriend. And he talked with David more than he did me. And David says, hey, if you would stop people from stopping up the pipe, the road wouldn't wash out so much. And he didn't believe David, and he went to watching it. And David says, he ran me down on North Avenue and flagged me down one day and said, I've got to apologize to you. He says, you're right. I don't know who's doing it, but somebody is trying to do damage. And I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
He was kind of taking the sides of some of the environmentalists.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, could you put a low water crossing or high water crossing?
It is kind of a low water crossing now with a pipe in it, which is kind of a Corps of Engineer requirement.
Oh, it's,
To have the pipe.
okay.
Yeah, when you were here when we got some visits.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Well, I was just thinking, it's not concrete, is it?
Yes, it is.
All right, John, you're right.
You know,
Well,
things were going
section
pretty smooth till
concrete.
you said no.
Well, sections, they're 4 6-foot sections concrete, and the pipe's not very big. What,
And anyway,
It just kinda
they
is
called
what it
the
is,
Corps
or-
of Engineers, and the Corps of Engineers called me and says, can we meet down there? And he also called the Forest Service. Our visitor wanted to be there too, and the Corps of Engineers didn't call him, didn't want him there, just wanted him out of here. I shouldn't say that, but he said, yeah, he wanted to be here, but I didn't have time to call him. And so then, you know, the Forest Service wasn't aware of that, and, you know, we talked and so on. He said, well, I don't see a problem. Corps of Engineers didn't really see a problem, and the Forest Service talked about it, and I said, well, the pipe is kind of a requirement, the Corps of Engineers, and he looked at the fellow in the Corps, of course, says, yeah. Says, that's a requirement. If we have a stream crossing, like if building a bridge, if the contractor wants a stream crossing, of course, you're supposed to permit that and all that sort of stuff, but one of the requirements is they have a pipe in the creek so that the
Small, right?
small creatures can move back and forth through the pipe. And that's in that 8 pages of specs that we put in from the Corps of Engineers in all of our bridge projects. That's part of it. So,
okay, on Westland Drive, I got a guy, where it meets, it's either Westland or Midland, where it meets North Avenue. That water's, I drove past it real slow. It looks like the water in the road ditches, it's pretty flat in there. I don't know, it's trying to decide whether it wants to fall.
He wants us to drain his illegal sewer.
Well, I don't know if it's illegal or not. I don't know anything about it.
He
But,
got a drain from his septic system, drains into the road ditch there,
okay,
right there on the corner.
yeah. Okay.
We tried to clean that out repeatedly, but that's his problem. And I told him that, well, if you didn't have your illegal effluent coming into the road ditch, you wouldn't have.
Is there not so he doesn't have I don't know what's legal and what's not as far as a septic. Is there not a
No
leach
septic,
field out
no
there?
drain from any sanitary treatment device is legal to drain to any road ditch along any public road.
So even if it goes through an oxidator? Okay.
No drain by any means. Do you want to see that written black and white in the law? This has been an ongoing issue
I mean, it's
Yeah, out there at the
that
other
one
one,
subdivision
yeah.
at
for,
That's what's holding the,
Unity School.
was
or,
holding the
Colonial, whatever it's called.
alright.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been out there where the guy that, it's over the
Health department.
health department is saying it's fine. And then Larry shows them in the statutes where It's not fine.
Well, it is.
They don't say
fine.
it's legal, they say it meets our policy.
Yeah,
That's what they say, yeah.
in other words, it's out of his jurisdiction. is
That's
what
what
it
he's
amounts to.
just trying to pass the buck.
Yeah.
And yet they're permitting these, and I'm saying you are illegal in the health department to approve any permit that does this, any facility that does this. And I think they're trying to sidestep their responsibility. And just trying to pass the buck to the highway authority is what they're trying to do. And they're approving them all over the place.
Who would be, is that Mr. Inman? Or
I don't know who's,
It's Ron Inman's over down here.
yeah.
His boss is, one of the great big guy,
Yeah.
I think his name now.
From Union
Randleman, wasn't it?
Randleman,
Red
yeah.
Randleman.
Wasn't he one of them out there with us at that one that day,
Yes.
Rendeman?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you two and me were.
Yeah. Can't think of his first name.
And
Is it Brad?
Bud.
Brad, I
Isn't
think.
he usually the, like the buying office or somewhere else?
At the college.
But we can look at it, but we have tried to clean that ditch out, and I don't know which, it's Gallagher subdivision. You see it, it's up on the hill, nice trees, and I've had people catch me in the wintertime, and one lady up there on that Midland Drive, she lives on back, and she says, we bought this in summertime, and it was so pretty in here, and the trees and the grass was green, and then it turned wintertime, and she had water standing in her yard. It is flat as this tabletop, and there's just no way for the water to leave. It is a problem.
Well, at one time, Southern Seven told me to plant willows
Willows,
at the end of your pipe. Said in the summertime, they'll drink 100 gallons a day. Of course, the winter's when you have problems, I know. It might be an avenue a person could, take to.
but we have cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, and it's so flat, but we'll take a look at it again.
All right.
Yeah, and, right here, you're close, and we've tried to clean it out, and all the way down through there. I got a call the other day from a fellow on back that same road, and the water is standing back there. And right now, especially with as much rain that we've had, it's, of course, like a fellow I talked to last week, he's a farmer up in Franklin County. He says, we got water standing on the hilltops.
Well, there's a lot of hills that are bleeding water.
Yes. He said, right now, we've had so much rain, we got water standing on the hilltops. You don't have to worry about the low valleys. It's standing on the hilltops. He's wanting to feel too, just like, he's in the field bad.
Mm-hmm. All right, thanks, guys.
Joe, you got any questions?
Oh, no, probably not today.
Trying to soak it all in.
Yeah, I'll have a few more weeks of this with Larry being here, so I can, maybe have some questions toward the end.
I'm glad you're here.
All right.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate
We'll
it
see you
very
later.
much.
Take care.
See you.
We shake Larry's hand all the time. You can go ahead and start anytime you like.
So I had a conversation with Dana probably a month or two ago, and she recommended that I speak with you guys. And our conversation was primarily around the healthcare reform and how you guys are preparing for that, and she said that you would primarily be taking care of that. So she had shared some information that you guys have around 84, 85 pays, and a lot of those are full-time, but they are hourly. And so she recommended speaking with you primarily because the hourly employees are what's gonna count and what's going to affect you guys the most. So, do you guys have any questions for me to start out with, or?
Well, first, our health insurance, we're self-funded.
Okay,
How does that affect Obamacare or, anything like that?
it doesn't matter as long as it's affordable, so you still need to look at, what the total cost of, it is, total cost of the benefits for the employee, both through deductible and their premium. And if that exceeds 9.5% of their W-2 income, then it is not deemed affordable, and you, are open for a penalty at that point. So the way it works is basically so you provide benefits for your employees, right?
So what you're saying is what they pay. If it's, and they only, what is it, 60, well, how much? is it?
60 a month,
60 a month, and we don't charge hardly that much at all, so
or 70 maybe.
maybe,
I believe 63 and,
Yeah.
what did it say, 70? So you're saying like, that's only $840 a year,
Right.
so you're saying it's 9%?
It can't exceed 9.5% of their W-2 income, so their gross annual income. The total cost, so if it's 800 and some change every year, you just need to look at that and compare it to their W-2
Well,
income.
let's say if they made, so say 10%, so that means if their salary was $8,500 or less, then that would affect it.
Not salary, it only affects hourly employees. Your salary are already deemed full-time.
Okay, well, all of our hourly employees make more than $8,500 a year.
Okay, so then as far as the affordable part, you will be okay, as long as, you know, something doesn't change within your plan. So there's two aspects of healthcare reform. Everyone thinks of the employer aspect, obviously that's important. There's also the individual aspect. So if you have employees that you offer benefits to, but they then don't take it, there's an individual mandate to where they have to then pay for their own coverage. So there's penalties for the employer, but there's also penalties for the individual. So looking at the employer aspect, a lot of it, obviously, the entire purpose of healthcare reform is so that everyone in the United States has benefits and health insurance of some sort, right? So within that, obviously benefits are extremely important, but what a lot of organizations don't understand or they're not really looking into is there's three other really big aspects of healthcare reform. One is communication, so communicating to your employees all of the regulations that you need to, like the notice of the exchange. The other one is tracking, so tracking all of the appropriate data, time collection, things like that, to make sure that you're offering and you're able to prove to the government that you are offering to the appropriate employees who are eligible. And then the third one is the reporting aspect. So when the Department of Labor comes in, being able to show and report and all of your year-end reports and things like that to prove that you are in compliance. So that's where ADP really comes into play, and how to collect all that data to help prove that you are in compliance. One of the best way to describe it really is you're not innocent until proven guilty, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Wouldn't our health insurance provider keep us in compliance?
You would think, as far as the benefits aspect, but when the Department of Labor comes in, they're not gonna audit your insurance provider, they're gonna audit you. And if you're not in compliance, your provider's not gonna get the penalty. You'll get the penalty.
I guess my question would be, what would we be out of compliance in if we meet the 9.5%?
Yeah, so you do meet that 9.5%, but you still have to prove it. And that's when, if you're not able to prove it, then you're still gonna get that $2,000 fine per employee.
We're proving it, we'd just be looking at the copy of the records in our audits of what people make, correct?
Right, and pulling that data at, an efficient period, but it is one of those things, I'm not sure how often OSHA comes in here, but the Department of Labor is giving us the information that it's very similar to OSHA. If OSHA comes into a manufacturer, they're not leaving until you have a fine. So they're gonna dig into all your records. So it's not just benefits, you also have to prove that, within 90 days of an employee being hired, they are offered benefits. If that employee waives the benefits, you then have to prove that they waived it. So it's not just the benefits aspect, there's a lot more to it, and being able to prove that is where the compliance comes in. So for instance, if the Department of Labor comes in and you had a new hire start, 6 months ago, and you can't prove that they actually waived their benefits or that they were notified of the exchange, that's when you're gonna get the fine.
Wouldn't we just have a form for her to sign and put that in a folder?
Yeah, so there's a lot easier ways of tracking it and making sure that you have an efficient system to do that, and that's really where ADP comes into play. Making sure all those systems speak and you have all the correct data to interact and be able to pull those reports quickly.
And how do you charge per person a fee, or is it just how does it work for charging?
It's based off the number of employees that you pay during the pay period. So I know a lot of counties, they have, some variance during summer, and, obviously summer's probably a busier time for you, so you pay for the employees that you actually pay. So in the winter it would be less, and in the summer it would be a little bit more.
And what would that fee be?
It depends on really what you would wanna look at. We have what we call an ACA package, which basically makes sure that our clients are in compliance with all of the regulations, and I can put together that pricing for you, and send that right over if you'd like.
I mean, you can, but I was just curious, if you
Yeah.
have a ballpark, you go to a lot of these meetings, what is it normally run?
For instance, I'm working with a bank, they have like 70 employees, and they're looking at, let me see, let me do a quick calculation. Well, how often do you guys get paid?
Every 2 weeks.
So you're bi-weekly? That's the other thing it depends on. See, they were looking at our complete HR package. I wanna say bi-weekly is like 10.25 per employee per payroll, but that's completely off the top of my head. I can put together more defined numbers for you.
So 1,500, basically 1,500 a month, which would be 18,000 a year.
Yeah, and like I said, that's completely just off the top of my head.
How much is a fine?
Well, depending on which one you're looking at, so if you aren't affordable, the fines that have been defined, if they're not affordable, it's 2,000 per employee, per employee after the first 30 employees. If you're not affordable, an employee goes to the exchange, or if you do offer them, it's 3,000. As far as like the fines that I was referring to with like the new hire reporting and waiving and things like that, they have not been defined yet. So I have no clue. I do know that they're gonna come on a monthly basis from what we're being told, but those fines have not yet, a dollar amount hasn't been put on them yet. There's a lot of unknowns still. The things that have been declared really are, you have to offer by January 1, which you guys are in compliance with that. And there are other certain regulations, but a lot of it, like the notice that the exchange, for instance, that was supposed to be, you're supposed to notify all your employees of the exchange by March 1st, and that's been pushed back to the fall. So basically what happens is when you have to notify your employees of the exchange, you have to let them know what is available to them, whether that be through a form and have them sign it, or whether that be an email and have them do like an electronic signature. It's up to you. You just have to have the proof that you do notify them in exchange. Now, I don't know what the fine is yet, depending on if you don't
Well,
notify.
and you say exchange, are you saying that we provide health insurance?
So Illinois is going to do their own, they're gonna be federal funded first, and then they're going into state. So the exchange is basically your state's healthcare system. Missouri is, I'm not sure if you have any employees in Missouri, but they are going to go through the federal funded. So you have to notify them of what your exchange is and all of the, regulations and things that they need to go through to get that information. You have to provide that for them. So basically, you have to give them the information to where if they wanted to go to the exchange, they could do that easily, and they have that accessibility.
Gerald, this is usually your topic, what do you have?
If you have information, you can leave it for us. Do you have it
Yeah.
in writing?
Oh my gosh, I have so much information that I could leave for you. I usually typically like to email it, simply because it's electronic form is a little bit easier. Should I just email it to the email address I have on file, the county commissioner?
Yeah, you can do
Okay.
that, and I'll print it out and get it to you.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, I have tons of paper, but I could bombard you with stuff on healthcare reform. What I will send that is what I have found to be most helpful is the Affordable Care Act, the definitions of what, it outlines everything that,
Yeah.
that you guys need to have taken care of and those times as
Fine.
well.
What is the minimum number that you have to have working for you to have this? I mean, if you was a small business and had 8 people, do you have to provide this?
So a large employer, this is what, it affects large employers, and a large employer is deemed an employer that has over 50 full-time equivalents. So it's not 50 employees, it's 50 full-time equivalents, so you could have like lawn care companies have a lot of seasonal employees.
You have 100 people working part-time, it equals 50 full-time.
It depends on the number of hours that they work. So you guys are lucky in the respect that you already provide benefits, because if you didn't, you would actually have to track all those hours and then prove which ones were eligible for the benefits, which ones weren't eligible for the benefits, and then go from there. But since you provide them to all your full-time people, and you guys consider full-time, is it 40 plus hours or 30?
I think it's 34 or 36.
34, okay, so the one thing that you will want to be really cautious of, you have to provide benefits for any full-time employee, and full-time is deemed 30 hours plus. So if they work 29 hours, they're considered part-time, you don't have to offer. If they work 30 plus hours, you have to offer them benefits. So, you then take those number of hours, it's this really fun formula, you have to take the number of hours for all your employees, divide it by 120, and that gives you number of full-time equivalents. If that number is over 50, you then are deemed a large employer. If it's under 50, you're not a large employer, so you don't have to be in compliance, but if the Department of Labor comes in, you have to prove that you don't have to be in compliance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's a nice big formula.
It's like the Department of Labor is going to hire more people to do this.
They are, so we've heard lots of different numbers. I've heard 16,000, I've heard 8,000, I've heard 2,100, just auditors specifically for this. They're going to be going to different organizations, and their job primarily is to fines and penalties to help pay for it.
Wow. That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's definitely
Well,
scary.
when I retire, if they're gonna hire 18,000,
There
then
you go. There's your second job. isn't it?
Yeah, go work for the Department of Labor. Might send us some fun places, maybe. So yeah, they're hiring a ton of people just specifically for them, starting January 1. Do you have you guys declared like a look back period or anything like that to help with this?
What does that mean?
So the look back period for your employers that are in that 30 to 34, 36 hour segment, that allows you to take the average number of hours that they work through a 6, 12, 9, whatever month period you wanna look at. You can go up to 12 months and take a snapshot of what, you know, their average hours is, and then base what you're offering based on that. So if you have an employer that currently is deemed part-time, but they really work an average of 33 hours, it allows you to take a snapshot of what their annual average is and base your next year benefit offering based on that number.
I don't know if we really have that. I mean, we got a few, but I would think they'll be under that number 24 maybe hires. Do you? We got a few that's probably working more than they need to be,
Yeah.
you know, and this might be a way that we can explain why they shouldn't be. But,
One of the big targets is restaurants, because they have such fluctuating hours, which you might have the same thing. And they're using this as the ability to make sure and have a strict mandate on you can't work over 30 hours. But you have to have a system in place to keep track of that. And Dana had mentioned you guys just do all manual.
so what you're
timesheets.
saying is these employees are gonna suffer. They're not gonna be able to make as much salary,
Right,
because they can't now work over 30 hours.
depending on if you wanna offer them benefits or not.
Hmm.
But yes, that's correct.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, there's lots of fun aspects of it,
Yeah,
right?
it sounds like it.
It's the tough conversation to have, but it's, as the employer, you have to make sure that you are protecting yourself. The employee, I mean, like I said, if they are offered benefits and they don't accept them, or and they go, you know, to the doctor and they don't have benefits, or at the end of the year, they don't have the ability to prove that they had insurance, they're then gonna get a tax at the end of the year. Small, it's like $91 the first year, but it will increase. Do you guys have a system in place currently, to track, and manage mass communication? As far as like the notice of the exchange or anything, do you guys have like an email system or anything like that?
no,
No.
Okay,
no, any kind of thing like that would be distributed with paychecks to
Okay.
different office holders.
okay, And then would that office holder then have to relay that message to the appropriate employees, or,
Yes.
okay. Do you have any way of, do you guys typically just have them like sign off that they were notified, or?
We have them sign off if they waiver the health insurance. They do sign a waiver.
Okay, good,
Our auditors have set that in place.
good,
I mean, but that's been the way it has been for years.
good. As far as like, if you have an update in your handbook or anything like that, is that again just a manual signature?
Yes.
Okay. And then as far as, tracking time, acknowledgements, government, or contributions, things like that, how quickly can you guys track that? Like if the
What?
Department of Labor were to come in?
What kind of contributions are you talking about?
Like their contributions on like the benefit aspect. So how much
We
they
could go
pay.
right into their payroll and pull it right up.
Okay, good. And then as far as the time trackings, all of that's
Yes.
manual, do you guys just put that in an Excel spreadsheet?
It's not, it's QuickBooks.
Okay,
I mean, I'm not sure, I don't know if that's Excel or whatever, but my office uses QuickBooks and we usually do the payroll.
okay. And you
But I
guys,
mean,
do you do that all, you cut all those checks and everything
Yes.
in-house?
mhm.
Okay, so are you, and it sounds like you handle more of the reporting aspect, is that correct?
I'm gonna shift that to Dana. Well, the information is there. I don't know,
Okay.
I don't handle much reporting.
Okay,
I mean, because I'm really, I don't, legally, although we cut the checks, and pay the bills through this office, the books are actually kept with the treasurer's office legally.
okay. So she would be more likely to handle that aspect.
She's the one that does the reporting to the state and federal government, yes.
Okay, and what does she base those reports off of, just from QuickBooks, or?
Well, they go down, we send the reports down to them, they re-enter it into their system, and
Okay.
they report from that, yes.
Okay,
Now, basically, we do more of the expenditure side, we don't handle any of the revenue side.
okay. That, all the revenue side goes through the treasurer's office?
Treasurer's office, yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I just typed notes, otherwise there's no way I'll remember everything. So are you guys pretty confident, I mean, if the Department of Labor were to come in as far as reporting aspects, are you pretty confident that everything would be free and clear for the monthly?
You know, to tell you the truth, I think we could handle it in-house,
Okay.
if they would just let us know what it is we are to handle. I mean, they had been, you hear all this on the news and everything, but I'm gonna tell you, they're very, very poor at getting it down to the people that have to implement it.
Right, I agree.
And, you know, because I'm still in the dark about it. And I could have it, I have no clue how to, I keep hearing this word exchange, but I have no clue what that is.
Okay,
Is that state offered benefits or, and we just have to notify somebody, okay, this is what they offer and here's where you can access it.
yeah, so there are specific regulations, and it will be outlined in that sheet that I sent, well, it's more of a packet that I send over. But there are specific guidelines that you have to notify them of specific aspects of it. And a lot of people are going through that, so everything's constantly changing. And how are you getting updates on this? Like, unless you have a person specifically designated really to do all this research and make sure that you guys are in compliance. So the Department of Labor, really, to be honest, they're not sending out national, updates on what's going on. A lot of people are relying on, their CPAs, their brokers. Really, a lot of people are relying on ADP because we have people in Washington where their job specifically is to stay up to date on this information. We have 400 people employed where they have, that's their job, is healthcare reform and staying up to date on the regulations and then relaying that back to us. I probably get 4 emails a week, just updates on healthcare reform. I got 2 on Friday specifically. Yeah, no,
So
it's
in
not.
other words, they've not quit writing this bill yet.
No, it's not done. No, and when they make a change or they make They define a specific area. It's not a one-page definition. It's 30, 45 pages of information of how they determine and define a specific category, if that makes sense. So it's a lot, and that's what a lot of people are going through. They're, they don't know. And you don't know what you don't know until the Department of Labor comes in and says, well, you're supposed to know this. So, and that's, honestly, not to give you like a sales pitch, but that's really where ADP comes into play. Because we are keeping our clients up to date on what they need. Anytime a new regulation comes out, we are changing our system to make sure that it's in compliance and have the appropriate information for you. I think whenever the last change was made, it took us 48 hours, and it's not going into effect until like July. And the regulations that are outlined currently, our system will be prepared to handle that prior to that deadline, if that makes sense. We do, if you wanna go on our website, we have what's called Ion Washington, and I can email you guys the link. And you can sign up for those updates. And it's not just healthcare reform, it's anytime there's a regulation change in. That will help you a lot. So is this something that you guys would wanna take a look into? Are you open to looking at automation? It's something you would be willing to consider, or are you guys pretty content with how things are?
I think we'll be interested in looking about what you have to offer.
Yeah, so just to
Just having
verify.
some of the expense outweighs the fines and
Right.
potential.
I'll send you everything I have as far as the fines. As far as my understanding, there are only two defined fines, and that's the $2,000 and the $3,000. But I'll do a little bit more research and see what I can find.
Is there any other counties that signed up with you or Southern Illinois?
I would need to look into all I know we work with a ton of county ofs, a ton of city ofs, and I can send you specific references for that.
Okay.
I'm not sure specifically in Southern Illinois. I would have to look. So just to verify, whenever I put this pricing together, you guys have 84 pays
I
in
don't
your,
think that's right.
No, we have 26 days a year.
No, I think how many
many
people's
employees?
On payroll?
85 is way high.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
high.
We 70 sometimes.
Yeah, I was thinking
Okay.
mid-70s.
that's like your high number in the summer. Okay, so 70, and then you guys get paid bi-weekly. And are you all under the same federal ID number, or they're different?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I can work on the pricing and send that over to you, and I will also work on answering these questions. So sending you over the ACA definition sheet. I will send you over some information and the link for the Ion Washington, so you can sign up for that as well. That's free of charge, so it's not, anything that you have to pay for. It's just nice to get those updates. And then I'll do some research on the penalties and get you references on the different city ofs and county ofs that we work with. What other questions do you guys have for me?
Information overload.
I know, see, and sometimes I get to be the good news, sometimes I have to be the bad news and tell people about, sometimes I can say, oh, you don't have to worry about it, you don't have that many employees, so, you're okay. Other times.
I just keep
they're bad.
wishing I could wake up and it go away.
I hear that a lot, and we have certain people, I'm working with a bank in Cuba, Missouri, and the HR contact, she's like, I haven't done anything, I'm retiring in June, like, this doesn't
Don't
affect
care.
me. Right, so now the new HR contact, she's like, we don't have anything in place, like, what are we supposed to do?
Doesn't
So,
affect her until she has to go out and back to the exchange and buy her own health
right, well, her
insurance.
retirement's probably covered under, she probably has insurance through her retirement, so she doesn't necessarily have to worry about it as much. But yeah, it's fun. We hear all kinds of different, people are either really worried about it, or they're just thinking it's gonna go away. We know it's not going away. It's here, the plans are at least until 2018. So that's what the law states. It'll be here until 2018. After that, up in the air.
How about ADC? What else do you all do besides?
As far as what ADP does as an organization,
Yeah. to 80 p.m.?
So the best way to describe it is we handle everything end to end from the time an employee is hired, so even through the hiring screening process until they retire or you fire them. So just depending on, so everything really in that employee life cycle, we handle, we automate, we track the data for you, and handle that aspect. So any like new hire reporting, any tax filings, all the way up until we actually have a retirement services that handles the actual retirement aspect. If you have questions on terminating an employee or anything like that, we handle that as well. So many different, I could go way in depth about that, but that's the easiest way to describe it. It's called human capital management. So that's the fun industry term,
Yeah.
human capital management. Obviously, we're known primarily for payroll. We started out as a payroll company and automating that, moved to time tracking, and now we're in the human capital management industry. It's evolved so much over 60 years.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you.
no problem. You guys have my contact information, so if you think of any other questions, feel free to shoot me an email.
Will do.
And then I will shoot all of this information over to that email address. I think it's like County Commissioners.
No, Massac County Clerk.
Okay, that's probably, well, let me. County Clerk,
At hotmail.com.
hotmail.com.
Hotmail.
It was
Okay.
free, John Olden set it up. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Well, perfect. So I will send that over, and if I have any other questions, I'll give you guys a call.
Okay.
But if you have anything, feel free to reach out to me. Try to stay cool out there.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a pool today, apparently. Thank you, guys.
You have
Thank
any
you
other
very much
local
for coming in.
businesses here that you're contacting?
I am meeting with Southgate Health
Mhm.
at 1 o'clock, and then I'm gonna back up to
Is
San.
that Sam Thompson?
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah.
I'm meeting
Southgate's
with,
out on 9th Street.
Is that Sam Thompson's?
Yeah, it used to be. I guess it still is.
I'm meeting with Rebecca Maloney.
Mahoney.
Yes,
Yeah.
Maloney. So, should be a fun afternoon.
That sounds like it.
Thank you
You
guys.
just behave yourself while you're in Metropolis, because the band's watching.
Yeah, the sheriff is here.
I'll try to behave and not cause any problems. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff, how's it going?
Yeah, I haven't showed up yet.
No, Honeywell, I have not seen it.
Yeah.
You in the middle.
Are we up?
Yes, we're ready to go.
You're ready to go.
You're waiting on us.
The video camera's on, so.
Okay.
Who's that?
Right over here.
Is that your good side, or do you need to change sides?
It's actually over here.
Okay.
So thanks for having us on short notice here. The purpose of today really is to kind of recap what we've done and kind of lay out a process forward. John has given us financial data.
What I could get, pull
Correct.
together that you need.
Yeah, and we've gotten utility data. We're still waiting on 2012 financials. So to make a very obvious statement, obviously you guys know that you can't write a check to fix your building tomorrow. So, but based on a cursory analysis of your financials now, short of us looking at 2012s, which we still need to, and as long as nothing really drastically changed between 11 and 12, which you guys would know if it did, but there is room, if you get creative, to reallocate some funds towards your building. Now, how you do that is really up to you guys. We can explore things like a municipal lease or bond issuance, things like that, or long-term traditional financing and things like that. But that's for discussion as we go forward. So based on our service of your building and the work we did last time, your building is in dire need of repairs, from HVAC systems electrical systems, roof, facade, just about everything that makes up a building. But you already know that, so. We would like, you know, through conversation today and through the next few times we get together, your help in prioritizing those, because as you know, your budget is limited. So, you know, what is the most critical, and we can provide input to that process too, to help you identify what's critical. With me today is Mark Shipley, who's our solution development engineer. You guys know Barry Melton. So after we conclude here, my plan was to show Mark the building, you know, in detail, spend a little time looking at your infrastructure, looking at the facade, looking at the roof, so that he can get an idea of what the starting point of where we're at. So Mark is really good at putting together options and helping identify what is most critical. We do that in conjunction with Mike Reed, who's our service tech, who you guys have probably all met, takes care of your boiler and all that. And I don't know when the last time he was here, but I know he's been here a few times this year already.
Yeah.
So,
We haven't had the boiler on very often, when we could turn it off.
yeah. Well, now we're getting warm, so. But we wanted to lay out a process. This is kind of how we partner with counties and how we've done it before. And got a couple handouts here. Pass these around. So this is kind of our action plan, and we'll talk through this in detail so you're comfortable with it. And then there's a second document we call a decision schedule. And it lays out basically not only our responsibilities, but yours, because we are gonna need some input and information from the county. In fact, let's start with the decision schedule. That's the more spreadsheet looking document. We've identified on a high level your needs and requirements, and they're pretty broad. In some other locations, for example, in Franklin County, their needs were a boiler and a chiller. They didn't have other infrastructure problems such as electrical problems and things like that. They didn't have roof leaks. They didn't have 60, 70-year-old windows, you know, things like that. So we were able to identify those a little bit more easily, but yours are more broad scope here. And we did that on our cursory walkthrough on March 20th. John has provided a few years of utility bills and financial data. As soon as 2012 is finished, we'd like to get a hold of those to evaluate.
And one aspect of it should be coming forth within a month or so.
Okay.
Because we, under one of those auditing rules now, we have an auditing firm from Paducah come in and do the books for us, and then there's an auditing firm that actually issues the final audit from Cape, but they basically use the same information that the firm in Paducah, and as soon as a draft of that comes in, I will get that to you.
Okay. So you think by,
That'd be fine.
They finished up here about a week and a half ago. I'd say it'd probably be another month, 6 weeks before they actually send a draft of it. I mean, and this, I'm just speaking on past history of how it sort of comes about, because the auditors from Cape have yet to be on the premises.
okay,
But they generally get their report from Williams, Williamson, Lentz, and Paducah before they come here. Basically, they're auditing their work. The other,
6 weeks would put you around the week of the 4th of July.
yeah, it'd be 6, 8 weeks. I mean, because I expect them here, you know, within another 3 or 4 weeks. They usually try to get here around the end of May. This is Houston, Ray. I can't remember all. I know Williams, and Lentz. The other one is, I can't remember all the names of that firm, but it's the firm that actually does the audit. But they use the work that this other firm compiles.
Sure. Well, that certainly won't hold us up in kind of going down the list here and doing the other action items that we have. You know, as long as you're not aware of any drastic changes between 10, 11, and 12. We didn't see any between 10 and 11. So, you know, if you were hit with, you know, an EPA fine of $1 million or something like, you know, something to that effect that would have drastically affected your cash flow. But, and by the way, let me start over and say, this is a living document. This is something that we'll be bringing out every time we're together, seeing where we're at, if we need to adjust dates. And a lot of time, it's an iterative process where you complete something, we come back and talk, and we may have to go back and do something else, look deeper, but based on conversations and findings that we have. So, if that makes sense. You looked like you were gonna say something.
No, I'm looking at the timeline that we propose, and I'm just, the execution of a letter of intent on the 25th of June may be difficult.
Without those financials, right?
So,
But like I
but
said,
everything
it's-
else, I think we can continue to accomplish along the way while we can do that financial analysis behind the scene. Why don't we go through this, let them make an analysis of this and see if this meets their expectations.
Sure.
Especially as far as project implementation dates, and, because we're still kind of at the beginning of all of this, but we're trying to follow the right process so that we can pass any public scrutiny, of course. But we want to continue to make sure that we're on track to meet any expectations you've got, especially if there's some implementation expectations that you have. So, that's why this is valuable, because it keeps us on track to make milestone accomplishments according to calendar dates that you guys feel comfortable with and that work for you. So. You wrote this, so.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I tried to be as detailed as I could in each action item, but, you know, today we would discuss this decision schedule and kind of agree to a plan. You're not entering into any kind of agreement with Honeywell. You're not obligated for any, you know, we're not charging you for any of these services. But it's more to agree to this plan. Mark can do the preliminary facility survey and operational assessment today, right after this meeting, do a walkthrough, talk to Marcia if she's here.
You know, you had first mentioned, of course, that, you know, we have a lot of issues, but you said HVAC, electrical, and roof. I would think personally, the roof is something we would want to focus on first.
Okay.
Is that what you think, Gerald?
Yeah.
I mean, all those issues are important, but I know the roof is something we really need. Don't you think, Sheriff?
If you don't fix the roof, you're gonna lose the building.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's do that.
In terms of long-term goals, you're kind of at a fork in the road, as you know, based on deferring maintenance for many years because of previous regimes. I assume the goal of the county is to keep this building and try to repair it back up to current codes and statutes or whatever, current codes, and your goal isn't to try to keep the building running for another 5 years and then tear it down and build a new one. You want to try to keep the building for as long as possible, right?
I suppose, I don't know if we ever discussed it, but I suppose that's it.
Okay, so you're basically making an investment into the building to keep it going. Do you have goals of making it more attractive, since it's a backdrop for kind of a, you know, a tourist destination? Or is that secondary to operational?
What about windows, Jason?
Well, I think the opposite, when if you're talking about making the building more aesthetic, new windows are gonna,
Correct.
what we need to do to the building is going to work hand in hand with that.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right.
We agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that windows need to be addressed, definitely. Is in electrical, what are you saying, it's totally out of code, or?
Well, you have older infrastructure, just, original wiring and things like that, so.
Would that have to be done before HVAC would?
Probably in conjunction with, because, if you're gonna add central cooling to this building, if you're gonna take the window shakers out and have more central systems, you'll have to do some electrical upgrades to do that. But we're gonna come back to you with our findings. This is
Right.
just on a real,
Broad base.
broad base. I am an engineer, but I certainly don't look as detailed into a building as much as Mark does. So, Mark will do that, and then we'll come back with our findings and, tell you what we've got. Usually in cases like this, safety and comfort come first. If you have a leaking roof, it could be compromising the structure and safety, whether through damaging the structure or mold, things like that. So you really want to address those things first. Comfort is also extremely important. And then aesthetics kind of come along, like you said, with doing those kind of things, if you're going to do windows and stuff like that. So we'll do the assessment today, preliminary assessment. Over the next 4 weeks or so, we'd like to have discussions about your procurement requirements and your financing options. That's where we would dig into looking at your financials and identifying areas that you could reallocate to, help pay for this over time. You're looking at something that you're gonna have to finance in some way, because you're not gonna be able to write a check just to get it done. So does the county have a finance director, or are you guys kind of a finance committee as commissioners?
We're the finance committee.
Okay,
Correct.
so there's no treasurer outside of this board or anything like that?
We have a county treasurer, but
When it comes to borrowing money or entering into an agreement to finance anything, it's this board.
Okay. And then you get, does your attorney interact with you in those decisions too?
yes,
Okay. Does he provide financial advice?
well, if we ask, or more like legal advice would be his expertise, but he's always usually, we bounce a lot of things off the state's attorney.
Okay. And that's Patrick Windhorse
That's
still?
correct.
Okay. So I don't know if the board, if you wanna either have meetings as a whole, as a kind of a committee where we discuss the financing options, or if you wanna assign a lead that we have conversations with, it's really up to you. But it'll be ongoing conversations on the phone, email, us throwing ideas, getting feedback. Have you done this before? What do you think about this option? Lease, bonds, things like that. So,
I think it's something we all wanna be
Sure.
involved in.
understand?
And, I think we should get Patrick involved in it. So
Right.
that we would have to have some lead time when you're gonna come to make sure Patrick's available.
Sure.
The schedule's pretty busy.
How much lead time do you think would,
I would think a week, at least a week
at
or
least
so.
a week? Okay, and then route that through Sheriff Holder, or?
Would you want to be the contact, or you want him to contact us on that?
Me or John, whatever.
Right now, I've got one employee over there, and
Okay, well,
I'm
I'll
on vacation, if you do it
Yeah.
Ted.
Okay.
Get ahold of Ted,
Okay.
that way,
I tried, John.
Well, I have both of your email addresses, so I'm sending it both.
I'm sure we'll all be involved before it's all over with.
Right, right. It's better to, in some counties where you've got the 13-member boards or 20-member boards, they usually have a subcommittee of a couple people that are leading it, but since you have a different,
you got 3 members.
setup.
It's a commission county in Illinois, we're a commission, one of few, but
Right. I live just north of Monroe County, and they're also a commission county of 3 members. So they usually have committee as a whole meetings where they're discussing everything the county's involved in. So that's good. So once we do the survey and Mark does his thing, and once we have these discussions about procurement and financing, we'll come back, and we'll verify those findings, and then reconfirm the priorities after we have discovered, what your needs are in the building. And get more of a comfort level about what you can afford and what you're willing to afford. So based on, where you're gonna allocate dollars from. We will take that and then we'll formulate that into recommendations of how you move forward with some kind of program. And at that point, this is where we really start getting into nitty-gritty, so we would present you guys with a letter of intent to move forward with Honeywell on the in-depth stuff. And usually, and it's not a contract, but usually that's where we're gonna start to allocate the heavy hitter resources, engineers. We're gonna spend a lot of time pre-project managing, talking to and getting bids from subcontractors, suppliers, so that we get the best pricing and the best products in the building. And in most of those cases, the agreement would spell out some kind of breakage fee that would compensate us for our time after that fact. But considering, our previous relationship with Massac County, we would probably opt to leave that out. But it is somewhat of an informal commitment to work with us if we present a solution that you like. So like I said, it's not a contract, but it's somewhat of an obligation that we're working together more closely at that point forward. Then we would bring back, we'd do that comprehensive analysis and bring a final proposal, discuss it, and then, hopefully move forward with some kind of project. So, does that make sense as a process? Okay. It's a little different in that we're not a vendor that's out there selling parts. We're more of a partner. We develop solutions in partnership with you, so there's obligations on our side and yours to make sure that, at the end of the day, you get what you want, what you can afford, and all that. So.
Do you just kind of general contract the whole project?
Right. Yeah. And we can, in some cases where you have significant energy savings involved, we get involved in guaranteeing those savings. We're not into this very far yet, but if you're gonna add things like central cooling, you're probably not gonna have that great of an energy saving potential here. There'll probably be some from going to single pane window, if you do windows, from single pane to double pane and all that, but there will be operational savings. We also can provide financing directly, or we can arrange third-party financing. We can walk through that process when we get to it. We don't know what's best for you yet, so.
Do you need someone, is sheriff, are you going around with them to show them around?
Yeah, Ryan Marshall.
So this is kind of the backup schedule that feeds into this plan of action. I don't know that we're, ready to put hard dates on a plan of action. But we do want to make sure that, we're kind of all on the same track here as far as, this path. You guys meet every Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay.
8:30.
Have you guys already had somebody assess the roof?
Well, we've had some work done over time with it.
Would anybody give us a price out
Yeah.
there?
I don't know if you even requested one yet, have you?
I've called them, went to them a few times, but
Yeah.
just never calls me back, the one that they
I
recommended.
Bailey about a week ago. He said he had looked at it, and he just gave me a roundabout figure, but
What is the company you like to use? Is there a couple different ones?
We've used Bailey Construction a lot, Orville Bailey. Barnhill.
yeah, Barnhill and Associates, yeah.
Barnhill, like a barn?
Yeah. It's about all used.
I've written in the dates from the decision schedule on this. So if you guys want to consider this, I don't know if you're going to continue your
You'll
meeting.
make some copies of that.
Sure.
Yeah. Just fill it in, read it to us. We'll stop.
Sure.
What do you got?
514, today, A. B is 6/11, a month out. And that, like I said, this will be a living document too. For example, if we don't have 100% complete financial data on 2012, until the end of June, early July, then it will float. But I have 6/11 on B, 6/25 on C, 7/16 on B, and 7/23 on E. Since this is a non-binding document, do you guys have the authority to sign this?
Why do we need to sign it?
It just kind of formalizes our commitment to each other to pursue this action.
And we take this to management and say, we have an executed decision schedule, and they'll be willing to release all of the resources necessary to have this process move forward.
There's no financial obligation whatsoever. And if tomorrow you say, Honeywell, take a hike, we take a hike.
Well, my opinion is I need to hear from my client, from the people, the taxpayers, before before I would be willing to sign anything. I mean, I need to know what their feelings are. Now, I agree that it's no secret the roof, the building's in horrible shape. But the building doesn't belong to Jeff Weber, it belongs to the taxpayers.
Sure.
So that's where I'm at.
Well, we're not trying to spring something on you here, right?
Yeah.
If you guys want to discuss this after we start, looking through the building.
Let's do that.
Yeah, we're not high-pressure used car salesmen here. No offense to any car salesman in the room.
And I might just run up and let our state's attorney just look at it real quick. Anything else you need to discuss with us?
No, we can get started on working around.
Good.
And we'll be here for a little while if you guys want to pull us back in for questions.
All right, appreciate it. All right.
When someone's coming in, or we have to sign something.
What's that now?
This one here.
I think that's what you got right here.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
a copy of it.
And
so
then anybody
Jason
coming
had that.
in.
I don't
No,
know.
I don't think anybody's coming in.
Okay,
They'll probably say, well, yeah, I guess.
Well, okay, I make a motion then to accept this resolution, support the PGDP workers denied benefits.
I second.
Okay, all agree, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed, I'll sign it. They're gonna come and get a copy of it tomorrow.
Okay,
I told them I'd leave it in your office.
all right, very good.